What the Sigma?
Gentlemen, behold!
Boobs. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say that. Can't say dick, can't say porn, but I can say
the Honka Bankaloos.
The last episode was about duck size, so of course we had to follow it up with the obvious sequel, Boob Size. Bebe's Boobs Destroy Society is the 10th episode of the 6th season of South Park, and it is, again, one of my favorites. Why are the most risque and weird episodes always the best? I don't know. I guess the message is just delivered in such a clever way, and it's the only episode where I don't want to shoot Randy with a Magnum. This video will focus primarily on chest size, and how some women wish they had bigger boobs, some wish they had smaller boobs, how having boobs isn't all it's cracked up to be, just like the duck size video. There are other factors like social media, girls lying to other girls, spreading rumors, but we don't have time for all that. We'll cover those in separate installments. One more thing before we jump in. You might see below the video a button for donations. Hopefully it's there. It's my first time using this feature, so I hope it worked. We're going to be having a lot of fun here today, but breast cancer is no joke. So if you can, please donate. As I understand it, YouTube doesn't take any cuts of the money you donate directly through that button, so it's all going to breast cancer awareness. Thank you. Now, let's get to the moods. The episode begins with Stan, Kyle, and Tweek walking up to Cartman's house. I guess one of their teachers died in a previous episode or something, and they just got the call to come back, so they're getting Cartman. Also, Kenny is actually dead, I guess, and that's why Tweek is here. I don't know. I should probably look more into the previous episodes before I talk about this one, but we don't have time for all that. Cartman's in his backyard playing with one of his dolls. It's the infamous,
"It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again."
Cartman's mom talks with the boys, and she comes downstairs to get him ready for school. He fights it, just like Cartman does, but she makes him go anyway. Cartman playing with the dolls in this episode might be trying to say something about masculinity in general, or I could be reading too much into it. Cut to school, and everyone's getting back into their usual routines. Bebe shows up to talk with the girls, and they notice there's something different about her. Her chest started to come in during the break. You'd think this would be some huge catalyst for the drama, but no, everyone's happy for her. A little congratulations, and they all go on with their day. I mean, these are kids. I suppose they're not really old enough to get competitive and start rumors. Speaking of which, this is like 4th grade. It kind of makes me uncomfortable to be talking about this when, you know, the characters in South Park are this young. They're like 9 or 10 years old. Is that normal? Like, should anybody even care? When does someone's chest normally start to develop? Well, girls usually begin to go through puberty between the ages of 8 and 13. Wait, is it really that early? Jeez. No wonder kids today are so screwed up. A lot of parents and teachers are so scared of teaching any sex ed at all, and we end up with these huge problems because no one ever told us jack shit about ourselves back then. I genuinely feel bad. During class, the boys start to look over at Bebe and notice something's off, but they don't know what. One by one, they all look over at her. They're almost in a trance, just staring at her, and she's not sure what's happening. Cartman asks,
"Hey Craig, is that the same shirt that baby chick always wears?" "I don't know, why?" It just seems like a really awesome shirt."
They really are clueless here. I suppose it's because girls might mature faster than boys, depending on your definition of mature. They know more about themselves. The girls picked up on why Bebe was different in an instant, but none of the boys caught on to the reason. Yes, it's necessary for the episode to happen, I understand, but it's some interesting commentary on boys versus girls. The boys eventually arrive at the conclusion that Bebe is just cooler than they thought, and Bebe answers a simple math problem, and suddenly, all of the boys think she's so smart. You know, speaking of intelligence, there's that classic stereotype of the dumb blonde with the double Ds. That always seemed like kind of a weird correlation to me. How would the color of your hair or the size of your boobs pair with intelligence? Well, I feel vindicated because this source confirms that having bigger boobs does not lower your intelligence. In fact, this article makes the claim that a larger rack makes you smarter? Contrary to popular and unfounded belief, large-breasted women actually have higher intelligence than their less-endowed counterparts. A 2011 University of Chicago study found larger-breasted women scored an average of 10 points higher than other women in IQ tests. Women with average size breast also scored higher than those who were the smallest size in the group. A slightly older study at this point, 2011 was 13 years ago. I'm getting old. But I was actually able to find this same information on another site, and they gave a reason for it. We're not entirely sure why this is the case, but the University of Chicago study speculates it has something to do with higher sex hormone levels that increase both breast size and intelligence. Well, there's a Top Gear top tip right there. About to take the SATs? Boob time. After class, the boys walk up to the group of girls and ask Bebe if she wants to hang out with them. They're gonna go throw rocks at cars, which I never got to do as a kid. It just seemed like so much fun. She says yes, and she seems pretty excited about it. It's kind of a heartwarming moment, actually. Removing all the South Park shenanigans leaves you with a scene where the guys and girls kind of dabbed up for a second, and they invited someone new to play with them. Like, without any of the other context for what's happening in the episode, it's a nice moment. Wendy asks Stan why they never invite her to hang out with them, and Stan just says,
That's different, dude. You're like my girlfriend. Baby's just, I don't know, she's just cool. Yeah, she's really cool. It's weird how we never noticed before.
But is Bebe actually cooler? I mean, like, we know probably not because she didn't change anything else about herself. I wonder though, besides intelligence, is there a link between boobs and your personality? You know, if I were to ask a group of fresh and fit and knockoff goofballs, they would say big boobs equals pretentious, slutty, spoiled. That's just incel rhetoric. But is there any truth to that? Can boobs change who you are? Turns out, it's more than just personality. You can predict a lot about someone based on the size of their chest. For one, they're bigger spenders. But this may just be due to the fact that special lingerie costs more the bigger you go.
This smelled like a bit like a scam. And my family's from a long line of smellers.
2. Lower self-esteem and eating disorders. This may seem wrong, as society seems to give large-chested women easier paths to success. Men want to talk to you more, and they value your opinion more, leading to more opportunities. But it seems women with large chests seem to place a higher priority on body image in general. Bigger boobs can lead to the inability to do high-intensity exercises, and may lead to chronic back pain. I wonder if guys with big ducks have groin pain after carrying all that meat around all day. And of course, as we already discussed, women with bigger boobs are often perceived as less intelligent and more promiscuous. Researchers have also found a link between heavy coffee drinkers and shrinking breasts, but I'll be honest, that sounds like a lot of hoopla! You know what else sounds like hoopla to me? There's some evidence that staring at boobs may increase a man's longevity. An earlier, non-boob study found that positive thinking had a positive effect on long-term health choices, particularly when it came to taking blood pressure medication. Not all experts are convinced, but some have concluded that looking at boobs is one such way to achieve a positive mental attitude. Another German study concurred that looking at boobs for 10 minutes a day was good for a man's cardiovascular health. I mean, it's not like I was looking for an excuse to look at boobs. I was gonna do it anyway, but great. Okay, so maybe there aren't strong connections between boobs and personality, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. Boob study is not a perfect science. One other question I've always wondered is a link between breast size and risk for breast cancer. Well, according to nationalbreastcancer.org, there is no link between size and cancer risk. The only thing that's different for a bigger chest is, it's harder to check for cancer signs, since you have more area to cover. Obesity and breast density, on the other hand, can both increase the risk of breast cancer. In addition, family history and lifestyle factors can also influence the odds of getting breast cancer. So no matter your situation, it's important to conduct regular self-exams and go for regular checkups with your healthcare provider. Bebe is with the boys throwing rocks at cars, and Kyle shows her how to hold the rock. Clyde butts in, and they suddenly start going apeshit. This leaves Bebe utterly confused. She ends up leaving because she's so weirded out. So it's pretty clear where this episode is headed at this point. All of the boys become obsessed with Bebe because of her boobs, and they start to revert back to acting like cavemen. Men in real life don't usually have this dramatic of a change when the power of tits overtakes them. But the commentary here is on how men's sex drives have the power to shut everything else out, even rational thought. So I think it's time to get to the ultimate question. Do men actually care how big your boobs are? Kinda. Again, just like with duck size, It's complicated. In one study, men rated medium to large size boobs as the most attractive. You can pretty quickly point out the scientific reason men are attracted to bigger boobs. It's a sign of higher fertility, and in the old days, it meant that your children were more likely to survive the winter. Obviously, this isn't really true anymore since we're not dying every winter.
You can stick it up your ass.
And formula exists. But we're still limited by our biology, and that sucks. But I'd like to interject here and say this. As with duck size, bigger boobs are generally more attractive, but only up to a point. Any guy will tell you that it's not about size in general, it's size set against other factors. Body type, confidence level, boobs are just one small variable when it comes to attraction. Bigger women tend to have bigger boobs, but this doesn't automatically make them more attractive. Not in a fat-shaming way, I'm just saying, as long as you're healthy, and you're taking care of yourself, that's what a guy's gonna see and that's what matters. As a straight guy, I can confidently tell you, boobs do not matter. Like, not really. Maybe a nice bonus, but as someone looking for a serious relationship, the size of your boobs will not influence my decision. Not every guy thinks like that, but that's just me. Actually, it might make you more intimidating to talk to, so a lot of people will inevitably draw a conclusion between duck size and chest size. And yes, there are similarities you can draw between them. With both, bigger is generally seen as a more desirable trait due to outdated genetics, but only up to a point. Also, partner preferences are going to vary wildly. There's lots of comparisons and similarities you can draw between these two problems. But I'd like to emphasize that while they're similar, these are two completely different things. For one, you know how big a girl's chest is the moment you look at her. I mean, hopefully it's not the first thing you look at, but you will know without much effort, because they're harder to hide. For guys, you usually have no idea how big he is until his pants are off. So there's one massive difference. Another is that a duck is a primary sex characteristic, aka actually, important for conception, while boobs are a secondary sex characteristic, aka not really that necessary. It's natural for certain girls to care about duck size so much it's a deal breaker for them, because guys only have one tool in their tool set. If he's lacking this tool, then yes. To a superficial woman, he doesn't have anything to offer. For guys, the focus is on the primary sex characteristic, which creates this make or break mentality. Oh, you gotta have at least an average or a big duck, or you're just screwed, because you got nothing else. For women though, we focus on the secondary sex characteristics, boobs, hips. Suddenly, it's not so much a make or break situation, because you can still have a kid without either of those things. And the odds you got lucky on at least one of those qualities is a lot higher. It's nobody's fault this imbalance exists, it just does. Guys worry so much about duck size because it's all they have. Girls, on the other hand, have 2 chances to win the genetic lottery. So, what do we do about this imbalance? Can we do anything about it? Yes, because while we can't change these perceptions or societal behaviors, we can recognize that this entire game of attraction through physical traits only takes place within one subset of the population, hookup culture. That same study from earlier contains one key finding that I really want to emphasize. Men with a short-term mating strategy tend to pursue temporary, low-commitment sexual relationships with multiple partners. They should thus be strongly interested in cues that signal in a prospective mate, fertility, and health, but also willing to engage in short-term mating, aka hookups. By contrast, men with a long-term mating strategy tend to seek durable, high-investment relationships. They value not only reproductive potential and physical attractiveness, but also non-physical traits, like interpersonal responsiveness, loyalty, chastity, commitment, and parental skills. Large breasts received higher attractiveness ratings from men who fell into the category of short-term relationships than from men who fell into the long-term category. This means that men who tend to engage in short-term, low-commitment relationships, hookup culture, are more attracted to large boobs than men who tend to engage in long-term relationships with high emotional commitment. What this study is basically saying is that Men who prioritize physical traits like boobs, hips, are men who are only interested in hookups, and they're not serious about a committed relationship. This makes sense, right? If men are going for those physical traits, that's what they're going for, is just their body parts, not really the rest of them. And I believe that this whole study is the true common ground between the problems of duck size and boob size. Yes, some people care about your size, and may break it off with you if you're too small, for boobs and for ducks. But the people who do that are not people who are in it for the relationship. This does not apply to women who break it off with men because their ducks are too big, by the way. This is just for the size queens. One more thing. What is the average breast size anyway? I can't believe we got this far in the video and haven't looked into that yet. According to several sources, the average breast size for an American woman is 34 double D. Is that a lot? Is that a little? Mason, perchance, what do these numbers mean? I don't know how to comment on this because I don't know like what that means at all. Well, how to measure yourself for a bra size. While braless or wearing a non-padded bra, use a measuring tape to measure around your torso directly under your bust, where a bra band would sit. The tape should be level and very snug. Round to the nearest whole number. If the number is even, add 4 inches. If the number is odd, add 5 inches. Your band size is the sum of this calculation. So if you measured 32 inches, you'd be 36. If you measured 33, you'd actually be 38. Alright, so that measures how big around your torso is, not your boobs. For your boobs, aka bust, wrap the measuring tape somewhat loosely around the fullest part of your chest at nipple level, round to the nearest whole number. Alright, now for the actual cup size. Subtract your calculated band size, step 1, from your bust measurement, step 2. And refer to the bra cup size chart here. Your bra size is your band size with your cup size. Example, 37 inches bust minus 34 inches band equals 3 inches. 3 inches gives you a C cup. Pair that up with your band size, and you have a 34C. The 34 refers to your band, and the C is the difference between bust size and band size. To size up or down, use this chart. Oh hell nah. What the f? If you need to go down a cup size for fit, go up 1 band size and vice versa. For example, if a 34C is too big for you in the cups, move to a 36B, up a band size and down a cup size. Use the bra size chart here to make sure you are moving up or down a bra size correctly. And remember that your bra size might change slightly depending on the brand or type of bra. It may take some trial and error to find the perfect fit. Okay, I think I get it. I'm a guy, so it's hard for me to wrap my head around. That second chart kinda gave me the runaround, but I know the basic calculation. So 34 double D means there's 5 inches of difference between bust and band, with an overall band size of 34 inches. Oh, okay, this graphic is actually super helpful. Double D is the average.
That's pretty good.
It's in the middle of this chart, and it looks pretty normal. I just gotta say, I think most of us guys assumed that higher numbers meant bigger, but if the 34 is the band size, it sounds like that number has nothing to do with the size of your actual boobs. It's just how big your torso is. Can't they make this less confusing? I mean, I guess I understand why it's gotta be this way. Boobs come in all shapes and sizes. We'll cover that in a different segment. So, what's Candle's cup size? Well, it's actually... The next day at class, all the boys are obsessed with Bebe when she walks in. The homework was to write a paper about something, and these guys are so obsessed with her, pretty much every guy in the class wrote about how awesome Bebe is. Nothing of real substance, just generic compliments.
My friend Bebe is really smart. She tells funny jokes and knows a lot about stuff. She's good at almost everything she tries. She's awesome. The end.
Yeah, sounds about right. A lot of these guys can't or won't say the real reason, so they just give auto-generated pats on the back like that. Oh, she has a great personality? Like, come on. I bet this happens a lot in real life too. I'm not saying you should just walk up to a girl and say, "Hey, nice rack," because that would be actually psychotic, but a lot of these comments come off as disingenuous. At lunch, the girls are talking about Bebe being a slut because she's hanging out with guys all the time. They start spreading rumors about her that they clearly just made up on the spot.
I heard that her asshole is like this big around.
Which really hurts Bebe, like she's standing right there. Poor girl. As a guy, I often take for granted the lack of infighting that occurs between dudes. If two guys get in a fight, everything just kinda resets the next day. I get the feeling that it's not the same for women. But if you think about it, if somehow the size of our ducks were on display like boobs were all day every day, then guys with big ducks would be called sluts too. Overall, this is one of the biggest problems with exceptionally big or small boobs. Body dysmorphia. A healthy body image means you feel comfortable in your body and you feel good about the way you look. This includes what you think and feel about your appearance and how you judge your own self-worth. A negative body image can put you at higher risk of certain mental health conditions, such as eating disorders and depression. Girls are more likely than boys to have a negative body image. This may be because many women in the United States feel pressured to measure up to strict and unrealistic social and cultural beauty ideals, which can lead to a negative body image. The ever-presence of social media has only made things worse. Like we mentioned in the dating video, women have these extremely high standards because now they're in competition with the entire world instead of just their class or their town or their friend group. In the United States, girls and women hear and see messages about how they look from the first moments they're alive, throughout much of their childhood and into adulthood. Young girls and teens are more likely to be praised for how they look than for their thoughts or actions. The media focuses on showing women who are thin, attractive, and young. Images of these women are often edited using computer technology. As a result, girls and young women often try to reach beauty and body ideals that do not exist in the real world. She's not real, guys. I mean, she is, but her boobs certainly are not. And I feel guilty that we've idolized these people because they've got big boobs. Not everyone's gonna have hers, but if you do, it doesn't make you a slut. I guess this is how it feels to be judged for having a body part that's way too big or way too small, and society has already deemed you as hopeless. We're really not that different, guys and girls. Just stop slut-shaming, it's immature. At home, Bebe talks with her mom, who explains that it's natural for girls to fight over petty things all the time. Mrs. Bebe remembers the day when all the guys started thinking she was really smart too. I wonder why. Sounds like history is repeating itself. Bebe decides to just keep hanging out with the boys, because they're a lot cooler anyway. I mean, her mom is on the bigger side, so maybe it's genetics. If your mom, aunt, or grandmother had small or large breasts, that can impact your breast size as well. But it's not just genetics. A good workout routine can affect a parent's size as well. The muscles behind your breast can impact their appearance. While it may not actually make your boobs any bigger volume-wise, it can help with lift. Therefore, they can look bigger. Also, the weather.
Everyone in McKinney is dead.
Believe it or not, hotter or colder temperatures can influence breast size. Researchers believe this is because our bodies burn more energy stored as fat to keep cool in warmer climates. So it sounds like Bebe has probably changed this way due to genetics. But there are other factors as well, just something to keep in mind. In the next scene, the main group of boys try to kick Tweak out of their group to make room for Bebe. First, Cartman tries to kick Kyle out, but that doesn't work, and in the end, Cartman is the one that gets kicked out. He definitely deserves it. At school, the boys keep bending over backwards for Bebe, which really pisses off Wendy.
She's not smarter and cooler than everyone. You guys are just drawn to something else.
What?
God, you guys are so stupid!
Sounds like men aren't the only one that care about titty size. We've covered men who might care, but what about women? Do women actually care themselves, and why would they? I found a good news article that summarizes a podcast discussion, and I found it to be pretty clear and concise. So I'm just gonna read it to you straight out. Boobs. We're obsessed with them, and society loves to tell us exactly how big, bouncy, and round the perfect breasts should be. There's an expectation breasts be sexual, life-giving, feminine, all things to all people, says Florence Williams, author of Breasts, A Natural and Unnatural History, which is just a ridiculous and unfair burden, she says. Unlike the perky pears we tend to see emphasized in the media, particularly in corn, boobs are all different shapes and sizes, and how they look doesn't change their ability to function. Small boobs feed children perfectly well. They provide sexual stimulation perfectly well. It's just that we created this kind of disease and we imposed it on women who were then made to feel bad about their bodies, says Miss Williams. It's a lot to process. Yeah, it's almost as if being made to feel less than because of a body part being small is a bad thing. Boys and girls both got it rough out here. I totally agree with what she's saying, but I sense a bit of irony in her tone there. Also, remember, boobs serve other purposes than just attracting men. Breastfeeding, for example. But we're mostly focusing on the attraction part here, because it's the factor that attributes to the wider dating landscape. So it sounds like women care because society has deemed that they should care. Just like duck size. It would really be awesome if we could all collectively agree to just stop caring about size. But that's not going to happen unless we understand each other's struggles, which is what I'm trying to do here. The main group of boys walk over to Bebe's house to hang out with her, when they run into another group of boys trying to do the same thing. But Bebe is not home. She's at Cartman's house playing with the lotion on the skin doll. The other boys get there, and the situation escalates as they all devolve into rabid cavemen, picking up bones and using them like clubs. Jesus, you guys, boobs are not that important. Bebe's gotta be feeling pretty terrified right about now. It makes you wonder how women with big boobs actually feel about them. Like, are they scared of guys supposedly wanting them so much more? Watching all of these guys try to kill each other just for some areola is horrifying. If I were a woman, I'd honestly feel like I have 2 targets painted on my back. My front. So, let's hear some testimony from a woman with big boobs. Actually, I had to cut this segment. The article I had chosen seemed promising, but it quickly devolved into, let's pile on men because they have no idea how it feels. You would need to explain it to them, and even then they'd be too dumb to understand. Sorry, but any article that unironically uses the term mommy milkers, that's not the level of professionalism I was looking for. Let's pick a different article instead. From the day they popped on the scene in the 4th grade, my breasts have been fodder for commentary. Everywhere I go, friends and strangers discuss them freely, as if they were a clever fashion accessory I picked up at Barney's and not a part of my body. Women tell me how lucky I am, how they've always wondered what it's like to have big breasts. I tell them to be thankful they don't know.
No boobs.
When you have an E-cup, there is no up in their keep. They're heavy, and you're always one wrong support garment away from being a National Geographic pictorial. To this, they unanimously respond with, oh, but boys must love them. And yeah, they do. Men stare and then stare some more. On a flight to Madrid, I got up to stretch my legs when an adorable old gentleman came shuffling up the aisle. He paused in front of me, took a good long look at my rack, and announced, Spain could win the World Cup with that pair. Jesus, dude. This enthusiasm isn't limited to straight men. All my gay guy friends try to touch my breasts. Think you need better friends. I'm constantly slapping their hands away with a warning. Quote, if you wake the girls up, you're going to have to follow through with a serious play date. So stop it. Unquote. What? Okay. It's a fascination that was lost on me until I figured out breasts are a symbol of nourishment. I suppose there is something comforting about them. But mostly, they're a pain. A stylist, dressing me for an event, once grabbed my bra straps and sighed, I have no idea what to do with these things. And neither did I. I still don't know what to do with the back pain, the draconian undergarments, and the running commentary. Reduction surgery seemed to be my only choice. Eager for picture-perfect breasts, I dove into researching my medical options. But, much to my surprise, an argument for keeping them started to build in my mind. I like that my breasts balance out my bodacious Cuban bottom. Alright, I like this girl. Giving me the hourglass shape I'm rather happy with. Yes, I've had to wear a bra since 9, but now I'd feel naked without one. Plus, in order to keep them perky, I need to get implants, and it would drive me up the wall to have something manufactured under my skin. I end up returning almost every purchase I've initially been on the fence with, and these could just get expensive. Ultimately, all I want is to own my breasts. I want to be comfortable with how they look and feel, regardless of what anybody else says, because I'm thankful they're natural and healthy. Is having someone else cut them the only way for me to claim them? I'm not sure. But for now, I'm going to switch to V-necks and rock on with my natural gifts. If for no other reason, then they are mine. A pretty balanced take, I'd say. As with anything, there are unforeseen drawbacks to something being bigger than average. Some other drawbacks I found on other sites were boob sweat, strapless bras are a joke, boring color choices for bras, wardrobe malfunctions, low-cut shirts, anything flowy makes you look pregnant, running is painful, strap marks, walking down the stairs is hard, cross-body bags, and not being able to find a comfortable sleeping position. But that same article did acknowledge that they can be useful for a makeshift table. So, at least we have that. Looks like having big boobs isn't all it's cracked up to be. And there are definitely some unseen struggles. So the boys are all outside her house waiting for her. Her mom is still being dismissive of it all, saying She has a lot of guys going for her. But Bebe doesn't want all this attention. She knows it's just because of her chest. Unfortunately, we can't talk to Bebe about this, because Bebe isn't real. I really want to understand these problems, so if only I knew any women in real life. Hey guys, this is Candles. Doing this voiceover very last. I'm in the editing stages right now. But I just wanted to say, this is a segment where I went out and I found a woman in real life, shocking, I know, who was willing to talk about her experience. Since this is my first video diving deep into a woman's issue, I wanted to go out there and find someone who could voice their opinion for me, ask questions, and she could give us some real insight. Keep in mind, her opinions may not align with yours. I disagree personally on some of the things that she says, but healthy disagreement is all a part of the process, so it's cool. With that being said, when you're actively talking to guys, would you describe yourself as someone looking for a serious relationship or someone looking for something more short-term?
I would describe myself as someone who goes into a conversation with a guy with a short-term relationship mindset. I wouldn't say that's because I want a short-term relationship, but because I'm a big believer in expect nothing and appreciate everything, you know? Like, I'm not going to expect anything from a guy, but I am open to both short-term and long-term.
Do you think men actually care about chest size?
Most men that I've known do not care. I have run into a select few that have specific preferences, but they have definitely varied on their answers. Some men I've met are huge fans of women in the quote-unquote itty-bitty titty committee and won't even approach a woman unless they fit into that category in their eyes. Other men have literally flat out said to me, I'm not looking at her twice if she doesn't have double Ds. So I'd say a majority of men that I've talked to do not care about chest size, but I have talked to a few that preferred one end of the spectrum.
Have you ever been with a guy who cared about chest or ass size, like he verbally said it?
I personally have never been with someone who has verbally said out loud that he cares. I think everyone is allowed to have their preferences.
How would you respond if a guy told you that small boobs or a small ass were a deal breaker for him?
I would not be mad whatsoever if a guy told me that that was a deal breaker for him, but I feel like I wouldn't ever find myself in that situation because you can kind of tell if a girl fits your physical type or not by looking at her, you know?
What do you think men's average answer would be if they were asked what the ideal cup size is?
I think if men were asked the ideal cup size, they would say a C.
What do you think the average cup size is for an American woman?
I think the average cup size for an American woman is probably a C.
It's actually 34 double D, which I wasn't expecting either, so. Do you think there's a growing problem with body dysmorphia in women? If you do, how do you think it should be fixed?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a problem with body dysmorphia in women. In the social media realm, there are men and women commenting on other people's posts, hurtful things about their body that can plant seeds in those people's minds that they aren't attractive enough or fit enough. In today's world, people have the ability to hide behind a screen and say things that damage someone's self-confidence that they probably would never say to that person's face. What I'm about to say next might be a little controversial and I might get a few hate comments for this, but I don't think that women editing their photos or posing a certain way to get the picture should be the reason that someone becomes self-conscious of their own body. Everyone does things to feel more attractive and sexy, and I don't think that women should be hating on other women for doing just that. But I do agree that the ability to hide behind a screen is giving others the chance to create this sense that women should look a certain way. Body dysmorphia has been a growing problem. It would be hard to come up with a way to solve this issue because it seems the only way would be to take... It would be hard to come with... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, after a while you start reading all the words together. It would be hard to come up with a way to solve this issue because it seems the only way would be to take social media away as a whole. But in today's world, there's no way you could do that. The people that have access to social media already would literally go nuts. The only logical solution is for people to really just be kinder to others. But it doesn't seem like any future generations will be making that change, sadly.
What is your opinion on plastic surgery or boob jobs to make boobs look bigger? Do you see it as something healthy or not? If you see it as healthy, what's the minimum age someone should be allowed to do it?
So I've actually had many fights about this topic with other people. I am really glad you asked me this question because it's something I am actually really passionate about. I believe that there is nothing wrong with plastic surgery in any way, shape, or form. I am like 85% confident in the way my body looks. If I would get any plastic surgery, it would probably be lip filler and a nose job or something like that. Because in my mind, those are the parts of me that I don't find as beautiful as the rest. I think anyone, man or woman, should be allowed to get plastic surgery without hate. Like I said in my previous answer, all we want is to feel beautiful and confident. And if one has the funds and ability to do so, then all power to them for being brave enough to make that change. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every person should go out and get plastic surgery. If you are confident in your body as it is, then that is beautiful in itself. But if a part of your body is bothering you so much that you want to change it, then I don't see any problem with that. I think the minimum age should be 21. As a teenager, I feel that you are much more open to influence. Like an 18-year-old girl could see a girl with one cup size bigger than her and go and get a boob job the next day. At 21, I believe, or at least I would hope, that individuals would know how serious plastic surgery is and how you should take a lot of mental steps before you go and make an almost permanent change to yourself.
Is duck size a deal breaker for you? If it is, of course there's a minimum size, but is there a maximum?
Okay, so a lot of you men are going to hate me for this, but yes it is. But before you all cancel me for saying that, let me explain. Dick size is a deal breaker to me because when I have sex with someone, and I feel like you could all agree on this, I'm aiming to get pleasure out of it. Sure, there are other ways to get pleasure than just penetration, but for me personally, the most pleasure comes from the act itself at its core. That is just how my body works and where I receive the most pleasure. Every woman has their own opinion, but that's just mine. There's definitely a maximum. Again, it depends on every woman, but I would say mine would be around the 9-inch range. There is a point to where if someone's dick is so big, it will literally hurt the partner receiving. I'm talking like literal damage.
What advice would you give to a guy who is on the smaller side?
This is kind of a hard question to answer. To anyone out there who feels that their dick is too small, you're not like done for. There are plenty of women out there who get the most pleasure from things other than penetration. And some women who don't even like penetration itself. And no, I'm not talking about lesbians. My best advice that I could give to someone who thinks that their dick is too small is to get better at the other things. Perfect the other things that come along with sex without the penetration. Also, women can be harsh, I would know. Protect your feelings and be careful when it comes to the dating world, especially hookup culture.
Okay, so I just did this off the cuff. For this next segment, I just handed her a couple of objects and see if she could guess the length of them. I've been wanting to do this segment ever since the duck size video. We talked about the concept of girl inches, how girls are bad at measuring things, especially ducks. So I just wanted to see if there's any truth to that.
I would say it's about 7 inches.
About 8.5.
What? That's a lot bigger than I thought. I would say that is 5.5 inches.
6.
I was close. I would say this is 9 inches.
That one's 8.
What? I would say that's 4.5 inches.
Closer, it's 4.
4? Okay. I would say the dollar bill is 5 inches. 6. I would say the toothpaste bottle's 10 inches.
That one's 9.
9?
Yeah. Bebe thinks about everything her mom said about smarts just running in their family. She asks her mom a simple math problem, and she says this.
Mom, what's 6 times 8?
Oh, sweetie, those are 2 completely different numbers.
Bruh. Speaking of math, there's one pivotal question we haven't answered yet. In the duck size video, we brought up the concept of the uniduck. 7 inches by 5.5 inches, the supposed perfect duck size to please any woman. What I'm wondering is there a uniboob equivalent? When pressed for specifics, about 53% of women and 49% of men shared they prefer a C cup. Honestly, sounds about right. Based on that visual guide we saw earlier, it looks like with a C cup, you can do things to make your boobs look bigger. There are also things you can do to hide their size, depending on your situation. So with a C cup, you're kind of the most versatile. Bebe decides to go to a plastic surgeon because she wants breast reduction surgery. The surgeon won't do it, but he offers enlargement surgery. That is just sad, man. Look, any plastic surgeons out there, I respect the grind, but it seems like one of the most morally dubious jobs. A lot of people who want plastic surgery are only getting it because they have severe dysmorphia. Not everyone, but a lot of people, especially the younger you get. A nurse with bigger ones comes in, and he treats her very nicely. A flat-chested nurse comes in, and he couldn't care less. Tells her to get out. As we read earlier, large-chested women are treated so differently, and the same goes for small-chested women. It's almost seen as less feminine, which is so dumb. You can't really control boob size without implants, so equating femininity with boob size is utterly stupid. It's almost like if you're anything but the perfect size and shape, people will say there's something wrong with you. Too small? Masculine. Too big? Slutty. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And now back to the men's side of the story. Randy and Sharon notice Stan has become obsessed with boobs. So, in a rare Randy W, he gives him a genuinely healthy talk about how you can't let them control you. I'm gonna play the whole thing because it is that well written.
Stan, as you get older, boobs will start becoming a major part of your life. But Stanley, you can't let them get in the way of your friends. There are a lot of boobs out there, son, but they're just boobs. Your friends are forever. I know you think this set of boobs is important now, but those boobs will be replaced by another set of boobs. Boobs will come and go, and then someday you'll meet a pair of boobs that you want to marry, and those become the boobs that matter the most. If you can just understand that, Stanley, you'll see that boobs hold no real power at all.
Here's the vicious cycle we're faced with. Women are in this beauty competition with every other woman on the planet, so they're constantly showing off their own bodies, often to the level where it's more sexual. At first, it can be gratifying, all this attention, but pretty soon, you're regretting what you've done, and even worse, you've conditioned men to see you for just your body. So am I saying all of this is women's fault? No, of course not. It's social media's fault. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But guys, take notice of the girls who have the confidence to just be who they are, regardless of what they have going on. I'm sure when Randy was young, he only looked for women who had big boobs, because he hadn't reached the maturity level to realize that that's not really what matters. It's all about who the person is on the inside. Everything else is just an optional side quest, could take it or leave it. Boobs can be super fun during sex, but we've seen that sex is such a diverse activity, you're gonna find an infinite number of ways to have fun no matter how big your partner is. If you watch this scene back, you'll see that Stan has drawn a bunch of different pairs of boobs on the wall. They all have that cartoony style sphere shape, like a balloon. Problem is, boobs almost never look like that. I've seen a few corn stars who have fake boobs that do look like that, and they look so goofy in high resolution. Oh, my erection's gone. Let's take a look at what boobs actually look like. The archetypal breast, round and full with a small point at the nipple, is considered to be the standard for breast type. Not a balloon, but a bag. It's said to be the most common shape, so it's what most bra manufacturers model their designs after. Asymmetrical breasts are of two different sizes. It's pretty common for breasts to be uneven by a cup size or less, and more than half of people have some variation between breast size. Athletic breasts are wider, with more muscle and less breast tissue. Bell-shaped breasts resemble a bell, with a narrow top and a rounder bottom. Close-set breasts have no separation or a very small gap between them. They sit closer to the center of your chest, creating more distance between your underarm and your breast. Conical breasts are shaped more like cones rather than round. This shape is considered to be more common in smaller breasts than larger ones. If your nipples point outward, away from the center of your body, then your breast type is east-west. Relaxed breasts have looser breast tissue and nipples that point downward. Round breasts have an equal amount of fullness at the top and the bottom. Those ones are sort of the ones closer to the way Stan was drawing them. They can happen. Side-set breasts are further apart, with more space between them. Slender breasts are narrow and long, with nipples pointing downwards. And the teardrop shape is round and the bottom is just a little fuller at the top. But it's not just the breasts. Nipples also come with some variety of their own. Bumpy. Small bumps around the areolae, called Montgomery glands, are more noticeable on some nipples. Everted. Everted nipples are erect, standing up away from the areola, even when they're not being stimulated. Inverted. Inverted nipples retract inward instead of standing out like erect nipples. Flat. Flat nipples remain at the level of the areola, though they may stand up with stimulation. Hairy. It's normal to have hair growing around your nipples, and some people have more hair than others. Protruding. Protruding nipples stand erect, further than everted nipples, even without stimulation. Puffy. Both the areola and the nipple make up a raised mound. Supernumerary. Okay, this is just a fancy way of saying you have a third nipple, which, in case you're wondering, is completely normal. I didn't know that, but good to know. Unilateral inverted. These nipples like to mix it up, as one is inverted and the other is everted. A few more notes about healthy differences. Although people who have darker skin tend to have darker areola than those of people with lighter skin, that's not always the case. Color differences can also be seen down south. I received a really nice comment under the duck size video about the bubblegum pink thing on TikTok. Now look, I'm not on TikTok really, I didn't see this, but I'm glad it was explained to me. I did have to Google what it means, and I gotta say, I have never met a man who cared about that, truly. Now I don't know every man on the planet, maybe some do, but only the most nitpicky and superficial of dudes would actually give a shit about that. Not to undermine women who do feel affected by it, because I can see why it would get to you, but most guys are going to be so deep in boner territory by that point, and once you get him there, there's no going back. So I wouldn't worry about it. Cut to Wendy at the plastic surgeon. She wants enlargement surgery. Her mom can't talk her out of it. You're the adult. Step in. Regardless, she has the money to pay for it, so the surgeon agrees to do it. I haven't talked about breast augmentation a lot in detail throughout this entire video because I was saving it for its own section. It's a very important topic to cover. How are breast implants done? A plastic surgeon will add to the size of your breasts by inserting artificial implants or transferring fat from another area of your body. It's the reverse for breast reduction, removing fat. Regardless of whether it's reduction or augmentation, you should always schedule a consultation with a surgeon before moving forward with this procedure. This will allow you to ask any questions you have and make sure you're comfortable with them. The reason I'm concerned with the morality of breast augmentation is because a lot of the time it's women who have a form of dysmorphia, and not because they really need it, like women who are post-breast cancer, often referred to as breast reconstruction. You may disagree with me, that's fine. I don't have boobs, so I can't speak on this topic as much as my interviewee did earlier in the video. In my opinion, if you're a consenting adult and you have the money, you're financially stable, I can't stop you, but I still don't think you should. Like, I've seen some women on TikTok who have a fake ass, fake boobs, fake lips, the whole kit and caboodle. I know a lot of women want to be supportive of these people, and I get that, but I don't really think extreme changes like these are worth celebrating at all. South Park kind of took a jab at this mentality when they referenced Lizzo in the Ozempic special. Obviously, weight loss and breast augmentation are two different things. Body positivity and support is great, but when it's actively inhibiting people from being truly healthy, it's not a net positive. If someone is already financially unstable and they want to get a boob job purely out of jealousy, no, you should save that money for therapy. Just saying, do whatever you want, queen. In this case, it's not always helping her. It's hurting her. Imagine supporting men for getting leg extensions, because that's basically what's happening here. Again, you may disagree, that's just my opinion. As a straight man, I can very confidently say I would first approach a girl with smaller boobs than a girl with boobs that are clearly fake, because it signals to me that they're not really that secure about themselves. This is just a personal opinion. If you do some poking around on the internet, you'll find some guys who love the feel of implants, and some who really don't. But for me, it's not necessarily about the feel, it's about whether or not you've come to love the body you have. Men don't have a choice. They have to come to love the body they have, or it's game over. Look, again, you're gonna get tired of me saying this, but if you're a consenting adult and you feel the need to pay for a bigger chest, I'm not your mom, I can't stop you. But I think if you're only doing it in an attempt to attract attention from more guys, those things don't come with a guarantee. To conclude this little mini rant, you should take a moment to consider alternative options before committing to breast augmentation. Reconstruction? Of course. But expensive augmentation because you're just a little bit jealous? Please think it through. Matt and Trey, those make us sit through actually seeing Wendy get her implants. And in reality, it's just as dangerous as it looks. Yes, on top of everything we just went over, these kinds of surgeries aren't the safest anyway. Wendy didn't have to go through all of that. There are plenty of ways to make yourself look bigger than you are that are safe and many times completely free. Number 1, choosing the right bra. A snug bra can make your chest appear larger than it would be in ill-fitting counterparts. 2, opt for soft-seamed bras over contour bras for everyday use. Firm contour bras can make breasts settle at the bottom of the cup and appear small. Choose a seamed bra to give your breasts a natural, more secure size and shape. 3, wear an underwire bra for a larger, more flattering shape. Underwire bras can offer a subtle lift while working with your bust size. 4, find a push-up bra with crescent-shaped padding. The crescent shape can push your breast tissue towards the center to make a more defined cleavage line. 5, pick fitted clothes for a more prominent hourglass shape. Making your waist appear smaller can create an hourglass shape and make your breasts appear larger by comparison. Choose a cinched or high-waisted clothing item to give your body a more fitted shape in general. Add a belt to your outfit for an increased fitted style. Look, as a straight guy, I can't speak for everyone, but I can confirm adding a belt to your fit, instant aura boost. 6. Wear clothes with horizontal stripes. Horizontal lines can make your chest appear wider and help your breasts look more prominent. Thicker lines will have a stronger effect than those horizontal lines. Offset your shirt with a solid colored skirt or pair of pants to best accentuate your bust area. 7. Choose an accessory worn over your chest. Making your chest area the focal point of your outfit can make your breasts seem bigger. Wear a necklace, chest brooch, or pendant to draw attention to that area. Short necklaces with a large medallion can heighten the illusion of a larger chest. 8. Keep your back straight to make your breasts appear larger. Hunching over can make your chest appear smaller than it actually is. Number 9. Contour over the top parts of your breasts. Apply bronzer to your chest in a V shape over and to the center of your cleavage. Then, brush your highlighter over the tops of your breasts and around the V shape. This will give your breasts the illusion of appearing larger and fuller. And finally, number 10, wearing 2 bras instead of 1 can make your chest look larger. Choose a smaller bra first, and then put on a larger bra over the top. That one seems kind of funny to me, not gonna lie. Plus, it might be awkward if he's undoing your bra during foreplay. Why are you wearing 2? Shit, maybe I should start wearing 2 sets of underwear. I don't know. In class, Mr. Mackey says they need to talk about their failing grades. None of the boys have been doing their work because all of their brain cells are focused on Bebe. Seriously, boobs are one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It's like waterbenders bending the water inside you. It's unstoppable. Bebe walks in with a cardboard box over her shirt, and suddenly, the room goes quiet. The boys have lost interest. Finally snapped out of their trance, they all figured out what was happening. What a nice end to this episode.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I'm telling you, guys do not care how big your boobs are if they're very clearly fake. We'd rather you be self-confident instead. Look, ladies, you should not be worried about the size of your boobs. If you make them bigger, you're not going to get that perfect boyfriend. You're probably going to get some caveman with an unwashed ass. And that's not to say girls with big boobs are sluts, or that they deserve all this unwanted attention, because they aren't and they don't. It's a comparison that is similar to duck size in this case. A bigger duck sounds amazing on paper, but once you get one, you're only going to attract idiots that give you surface level compliments until they get you in bed. They're not all they're cracked up to be. Let me tell you a story. Back when I was an everyday corn watcher, one of my favorite corn stars was constantly uploading quality content. I loved her. She had boobs that were on the bigger side, like very big, and she knew how to use them. But one day, I went back to her channel, and she had made them even bigger, and they looked completely fake and ridiculous. If I drew candles like this, do I get more subscribers now? No, because they look way over the top. In fact, I'll probably lose subscribers over this. In short, bigger does not mean better. You should focus on your real self because that's what's going to attract the good men. Big boobs do not make you a slut. Small boobs do not make you masculine. But you walk into a room with unwavering confidence, God, that is a turn on. I've really enjoyed making these videos. They've helped me understand my own struggles a lot better, and as a bonus, I get to understand the struggles of other people. One thing I realized over the course of making this video and the duck size video is the divide in responses. I will get a handful of comments from people, not always women, saying, actually a big duck is what you want because it's what's going to make sex great. I have a 10.5-inch dick, and all the girls I've been with have been able to take it to the base. First of all, may she rest in peace. But second of all, just because what I say in my video doesn't apply to you specifically, doesn't invalidate either of our arguments. You could have a boyfriend that worships your humongous knockers, prioritizing sex in the relationship. Good for you. I'm over here just trying to find someone nice. Someone who wants to snuggle up on a Sunday night and watch the entire Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy because it's so goddamn good. Both of our experiences are valid, but in my opinion, if you're prioritizing the size of someone's duck or the size of their boobs over everything else, you're confusing the sex for the entire relationship, which sex should only be a small part of. The reason you should not feel bad if someone rejects you because of a small duck or chest is because they were very clearly only interested in the sex. So, Going forward, we should keep in mind that we can't really say all women or all men, because there's very clearly two other groups emerging here. People who want long-term stable relationships and people who want hookups, just like the study from earlier pointed out. I mean, I personally think the former is much healthier and aims to mend the gender divide, while the latter exacerbates it. But hopefully you're all consenting adults, and you can recognize which category you fall into. All I know is, if you're really aiming for that healthy relationship, size still should not be a deal breaker. If your guy is perfect in every way, I'm talking a true gentleman, but he has a smaller than average duck, you can still make the relationship work because sex isn't everything. A counterpoint to that might be, if you don't enjoy the sex as much as possible, that could cause cheating later in the relationship. And I do acknowledge that can happen. But if you're unable to find a pleasure because she doesn't have massive tits, that's a you problem, and you gotta fix it. So remember, if a guy says he cares about chest size and it's a deal breaker for him, recognize he's almost certainly looking for a hookup, while you might be looking for a relationship. Same with duck size. Both sides can be content knowing the other is looking for something different anyway. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. We covered a lot, and it may take some time to process all of it. Also, to the women in the audience, did I do this topic justice? I'd like to get feedback. This is the first video I've done on an issue that's pretty much exclusively a woman's issue. There are a lot of other factors I could cover, of course, but we'll get to them in future videos. I will not rest until the gender divide is completely fixed. On that note, I will probably take a break from South Park for the next video. I enjoy making South Park content, but I'd love to branch out a bit more and find something unconventional for maybe 1 or 2 videos. Then it'll be back to South Park. Oh, and also, don't forget to donate if you can. And again, thank you everybody so much for watching, and do consider subscribing for more content like this. Drop your comments down below. We might do a part 2 video in the future where I read some of your comments anonymously, and we can try and smooth out the disagreements. Remember, boobs have no real control over you, and you are beautiful either way. Stay safe out there. I love you all. Good night.